Hi, welcome to the My Matter Lifestyle. I'm Mikey Weiss, and in today's video, we're going to be discussing when is the best time to start your cut. So the majority of people who reach out to me express wanting to lose body fat. For men, they express wanting to have more visible abs and muscle definition. For women, they express wanting to have a more toned physique. Things like tighter arms, tighter glutes. Both of these are just different ways of saying the same things, meaning they want more muscle definition through fat loss. Coming from a coaching standpoint and someone who knows what this looks like, what this feels like, and what to expect when going through this process, sometimes it's a good time for people to start dieting, and sometimes it's not. 99.9% of the time, just by discussing this with somebody, I'm able to see if this is something they're going to be able to accomplish or if they should pump the brakes and focus their efforts elsewhere first. Let's first start off with some positives. I want to talk about when would be a good time to start a cut, and then we can go into the negatives after that. If you've been training for any long period of time and you have some muscle built up, then there isn't really anything wrong with turning around and losing body fat. But you have to have some muscle to show. My first positive is going to be if you've built enough muscle. And this goes for both men and women. Muscle growth takes time. Given this, I would say that about 2 years into training is a good time to start focusing more on things like fat loss. For the first year, you're going to be able to add muscle and lose body fat at the same time anyways. It's best to take advantage of this and do so in a caloric surplus. Enjoy it because it doesn't last forever. And this is taking into consideration that you're not at a high body fat percentage already. If you're at a reasonable body fat percentage, build muscle, enjoy the newbie gains because they're going to come at a very high pace, and then you can worry about dieting later. Now is the time to build so you can start making noticeable improvements to your physique. My second positive scenario for dieting is if you've just gained too much weight too quickly. We've all been there before. Maybe we've felt like we're a little softer than we'd like to be. Maybe we bulked a little too hard and a little too quickly. Or maybe you've been slacking a little bit. Maybe you've just taken a long period of time off and you've just added too much weight too quickly. It happens. Hey, maybe the holidays came around and you gained too much weight. Well, now is a good time to turn around and start focusing on a diet because you just want to feel better about yourself and a little more comfortable in the skin you're in. And there isn't anything wrong with this. There isn't anything wrong with entering a calorie deficit to trim down a little bit and just start being a little bit more confident and feeling a little more comfortable in your own skin. As long as you have a handle on how dieting works and you've built enough muscle, go for it. Another positive scenario to start dieting in would be if you're obese. And by obese, I mean if you're anywhere from 35% body fat, higher than that, that would be considered obese. And also if you're fairly inactive. Obese people can lose weight fairly quickly, fairly easily, just by entering into a slight calorie deficit. They can also build muscle at the same time because they're not used to exercising. Entering into a weight loss phase while obese is a great way to get things moving. It's a great way to gain momentum, get used to the lifestyle, and start feeling good along with getting some overall health benefits. I work with lots of obese people and help lots of obese people turn their health around just by losing weight. In most circumstances, starting here is going to be very effective. Another positive scenario is going to be if you're fairly close to your ideal weight. Let's say you're 10 pounds away from your ideal weight or the weight that you feel you look the best at and feel the best at. It's just not a big deal to diet 10 pounds off. In fact, this should be doable in about 8 to 10 weeks. I'm not even opposed to someone getting ready for like a vacation or a wedding or a special occasion that they have coming up. My opinion is as long as a person has a healthy mindset and they're stable, they're able to maintain steady habits, then they can diet for a special occasion, and it actually serves as a nice little catalyst to getting themselves to a more comfortable weight. Some people don't have too many reasons to diet or bring their weight down, so if this can serve as a good thing and give them a reason once per year to make sure their weight stays in a good spot and get them feeling very, very good about themselves, then this is a good time to enter into a fat loss phase. You can even plan your diets around these different things if you know in advance of when they're coming up. And my last positive scenario is if you're entering a scheduled mini cut. Now, this is the category that I fall into as an athlete and as a bodybuilder. I only diet when absolutely necessary because my lifetime goal is to build as much muscle as I possibly can over the course of my career. In order to do that, I have to spend most of my time in a caloric surplus growing. But you can't spend all your time in a surplus because then you will get too heavy. And we've seen that before. People add on too much weight and then it comes time to compete and they just can't get lean enough because they have so much body fat to lose. It's good to do a mini cut every once in a while in order to bring your weight down to a healthier level and to give yourself some more room to grow without risking getting too heavy. And this will range from competitor to competitor, from class to class, but it's usually good to do about every year and a half. And you don't need to worry about muscle loss during a mini cut. You do not diet hard enough, or you shouldn't be doing that during a mini cut. It should be as short of a time as possible, and you should get in and you should get out. Okay, so now that we've got the positives out of the way, we're gonna go into the negatives. These are times or scenarios where you should avoid dieting. And the first one is if you have not built enough muscle yet. During your first years of training, that's when you're gonna be able to really build the most amount of muscle in your entire life. They're called newbie gains. Due to the newly introduced stimulus of training and your body being in a position where it's never had any of the stimulus before, it's going to grow like crazy. I remember when I first started training, my body grew like crazy. I was also doing things like bulking, eating chicken and rice and bro foods every 2 hours. I was doing things very much in a bro way. And I added on a lot of weight pretty quickly. Looking back at the pictures of me when I was younger, I got too fat too quickly. But I also think during those years, I added on a good amount of muscle to my frame. I took advantage of it. If I were to diet or focus on things like cardio and calorie deficits, I would have had a hard time building much muscle at all. And it would have been a waste of those newbie gains. I learned a lot during those years. I made a lot of mistakes, but I also did a lot of things right. Use your beginning years when you're first getting into it to experiment with things and refrain from dieting. Trust me, that will pay off in the long run. Like I said in my positive scenarios, you have to have muscle. In other words, if you're dieting, you're just gonna diet and look skinny. You're not gonna really show anything. My next negative is if you cannot stick to your current nutrition approach. If you're currently having a hard time being consistent with your nutrition, lowering your food, going into a calorie deficit, and working on fat loss is not going to help this. What makes you think you're gonna be able to stick to a plan that has lower food if you can't stick to a plan that has moderate or higher food? It's not gonna work out. Work on your steady habits. Repetition is the mother of all skills. We are what we do repeatedly. Hitting your calories or whatever nutrition approach you're working with should be habitual. It should be like brushing your teeth. It should complement your life. It should be part of your lifestyle. It should be stress-free, and it should be fairly simple. Food is such a big part of life. You want it to be something that is very easygoing. If you haven't found that approach yet, keep searching because it's out there. Once you find an approach that is easygoing and that works with your lifestyle and you manage all of your steady habits, then that's a good time to start thinking about going into a fat loss phase. In the meantime, refrain from dieting because dieting just makes things harder. Speaking of which, my next negative is chronic dieting, or if you've just dieted too much in the past. And this is something I see a little more often among athletes, competitors, people like this. Some people diet or attempt to diet way too frequently. They'll use anything for an excuse to diet. Summer, spring, a vacation, a wedding, social media, things like this. Unlike my positive example above, this individual does not have a conducive mindset for dieting. And dieting is the last thing that this individual needs. They need time away from dieting. If you're dieting every 12 weeks, every 16 weeks, then you're likely dieting too much. Your metabolism is going to be affected, your hormones are going to be affected, and your mind is going to be affected. Not to mention, your physique isn't going to change. If anything, it's going to get worse and you're going to start to see regression. Don't set yourself up for failure on this one. Be patient, take time away from dieting, and you are going to benefit from this in the long run. Another negative scenario where you should not consider dieting is if you have an active eating disorder. Nothing causes cravings and hunger like dieting. And I'm a fan of attacking things head on when it comes to this. If you need something like therapy, psychiatry, medication, inpatient, outpatient, a team of coaches, tackle things head on and all at once. Then you can start removing things later. Nothing is permanent. But if you need help, get help. If you struggle in a more serious area like this, it's important to have a team of professionals and people who support you, like your close friends and family, to all help you out. It's a team effort. I find that the people who do best in overcoming these areas have a team of people helping them out. So don't be afraid to ask for help. And my last negative is if you are a high-stressed person and you are currently stressed out. High-stress people just don't do a great job with dieting. The stress tends to get elevated, and the whole experience ends up being more of a bad thing. Not to mention, they usually don't make it to their final destination. If you're a high stress person, this is where you should focus. Managing your stress and working on those management skills. Do what you need to do to get your stress under control. If you're in a bad place with your professional life, fix it. If you're in a bad place with your personal life, fix it. You control your life, so you need to be the one to work on these areas that are causing you stress. If not, you're going to continue to be a high stress person and you're going to continue to struggle. Just know that stress, where unavoidable at times, can be addressed and can be solved. It all starts here, and once you work on this, your physique will follow. If you relate to any of these negatives, if you relate to all of these negatives, just know they can all be overcome. I've seen it over and over and over again many times. We all have weak points, so work on yours, and you too can indeed achieve weight loss. But now you have an idea on if you should start there or if you should work on some other things first. Okay guys, that's it for today's video. If you found the information we've discussed today valuable, please hit the like button or subscribe if you haven't already. If you'd like to get my help personally and you'd like me to coach you, you can do so by visiting my website, themindmatterlifestyle.com. And if you'd like me to answer a question or a scenario for you in an upcoming video, you can do so by shooting me an email. My email is listed in the description box. Please share this video with a friend or family member who can benefit from the information, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.